It's my absolute honor to welcome you all to Stories of Success, celebrating BIPOC women entrepreneurs. I'm so proud to serve as the first Black CEO of North Shore Community Development Coalition. I'm thrilled to be here with you, especially during Women's History Month, following Black History Month, 2 months that celebrate excellence, at this vibrant intersection of celebration, legacy, and progress. At North Shore CDC, our mission is to invest in neighborhoods to create thriving communities. Our vision is a North Shore where every neighborhood is one of choice and opportunity. Tonight's event reflects exactly that, the power of investing in women of color, in our stories, and our potential to shape our communities and economies. This event first launched in 2020 under the leadership of our then Community Engagement Fellow, Nana Young, who is a founder and CEO of Get Girls Going. Has anyone ever heard of that organization? It's an amazing organization. Their mission empowers Black teen girls to create social enterprises that solve problems in the world, and in doing so, equips them to be leaders that challenge racial and gender inequities that prevent them from success. Even though it was a virtual event, because it happened when? In 2020, it's carried so much weight. Now, 5 years later, it's incredible to see this meaningful event take place here in person, championed by 2 amazing women, our Director of Community Building, Chantel Alex, and of course, and our amazing Small Business Manager, Nina Lisa Rogg. Their leadership embodies the North Shore CDC's bold, innovative, and community-rooted spirit, and you will be hearing from them shortly. As a Black woman CEO, this moment is deeply personal. My own leadership journey has been shaped by the same challenges and triumphs that many of you, our speakers today, have faced. And it's no coincidence that our growing investment in the economic empowerment, especially for BIPOC women entrepreneurs, parallels that journey. We know that when women of color thrive, entire communities are uplifted. My own journey, like many of yours, has not been easy or linear. I've been in rooms where I had to fight to be heard. I felt the pressure shrink to code switch, to make myself more palatable, but those days are over. I don't lead by asking for a seat at the table. I show up as the table. I lead authentically with joy, boldness, and deep belief that being myself is not only enough, it's my superpower. Today is about all of us showing up in that truth. You're not just building businesses, you're shifting narratives, you're breaking generational cycles, and shaping the future. At North Shore CDC, we believe in investing in people and stories, especially the stories that haven't yet been told, and we want to center those stories today. And that's what today is all about. At North Shore CDC, we don't just talk about representation, we live it. I stand here alongside our board president, the Mickey Wilson, who's also a Black woman, leading an organization where 77% of our staff identify as women, 54% identify as people of color. We have 9 senior team member leaders who are, 5 of us are BIPOC identifying, and 3 are women. It's a lot of numbers. I'm not good with numbers. Our diverse leaders are driving affordable housing, youth and workforce development, community building, public art, and economic empowerment across the North Shore. That's what diversity in leadership looks like. That's what intentional investment looks like. So tonight, as we hear these stories of resilience and brilliance, let's remember this isn't just a celebration. It's a call to keep building, investing, and lifting each other up. Now, before we begin, and I give up this microphone, because you guys know I love a microphone, I want to ground us in something collective, a call and response, a moment to remind us what we will bring into every room. Does everyone here know what a call and response is? Some do, some don't. Well, if you did know, I'm going to tell you again. The history of call and response is a powerful tradition in West African culture, where communal participation through rhythmic exchange builds unity and shared purpose. Carried through generations, from spirituals and protest chants to gospel and hip hop, it remains a living symbol of resistance, affirmation, and collective voice in Black culture. We all play an instrumental role in building the communities around us, whether we are consumers, service providers, allies, community members, supporters. We all actively play a role in building the future. So, when I say I build with as the call, you are responsible to respond with a word back. This word can be a word that defines how you lead or support BIPOC entrepreneurs. You can say whatever you like. However, for some who will get a little shy, like Leonette, I can see Leonette's gonna be shy. Some examples can be I lead with power, or I build with power, resources, joy, or Ashley, our Director of Development's favorite, with money, or whatever rises up with you. You guys ready? I build with purpose. I build with love. I build with, that wasn't good, come on y'all. I build with, that's the sound of community in motion. The first Black woman millionaire, Madam C.J. Walker, said, "Don't sit and wait for the opportunities to come. Get up and make them." This is what building looks like. This is what legacy sounds like. So tonight's panelists and guests, may we be reminded that as we hear these stories of resilience and brilliance, let's remember this is not just a celebration. It's a call to keep building, investing, and lifting each other up. Thank you. And I'm going to invite up our Director of Community Building, Chantel Alex.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I have the privilege to serve as the Director of Community Building for North Shore CDC. At North Shore CDC, we invest in neighborhoods to create thriving communities, and we invest in people's dream. I want to say a special thank you to Urban Agenda and MGCC for sponsoring this event. Through our small business program, we support local entrepreneurs, especially BIPOC and women-owned businesses, by offering technical assistance, one-on-one coaching, and access to resources so that they can thrive. And speaking of that word, I want to take a moment to spotlight Nina, who leads that change. Nina is our small business program manager at North Shore CDC, and tonight she will be our panel moderator. She works day in and day out with entrepreneurs in the community to help them turn ideas into impact. And I know you will see her passion shine through tonight's discussion. Without further ado, Nina, if you can please join us.
Thank you so much, Chantel and Felicia, for those lovely, meaningful words. I'm Nina Lisarag. I'm the Small Business Program Manager, and I spend a lot of my time in one-on-one conversations with entrepreneurs on the North Shore in the trenches, and the challenges, what's not working, what's been disappointing, and that's great, and it's productive. And I also, going into 2025, was thinking about what I felt like was lacking from these moments together, and I really wanted to create an opportunity to really just celebrate the amazing work that women of color entrepreneurs in the North Shore have been doing in their businesses and share moments of success. And as we know, success isn't like one specific point, so I had panelists tonight sort of define what success was for them. So it might be different moments along the way, it might be a specific achievement, but I hope you'll hear in their stories tonight both their trials and tribulations, but also what success has meant for them. I hope these stories will inspire you. I hope you get a moment to network. And yeah, the evening will look like the first half will be conversations between me and each of our 7 panelists with questions that they have selected. Then we'll take a quick 5-minute break so you can use bathrooms, get another bite to eat. We'll switch up the seating, and then we'll have a panel of all 7 panelists, and it will open up for a Q&A to the audience. So if you think of questions along the way, note them down. There'll certainly be time at the end to ask them. And I believe that's all the housekeeping. So thank you so much. I will welcome up our first panelist, Yvonne, the owner of La Frontera Sabrosa. Come on up. You can sit right here if you want. La Frontera Sabrosa is a mother and son team offering Hispanic delicacies with some international fusion. They offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner appetizers, main dishes, desserts, and homemade tropical drinks. They sell at farmers markets, cater events, like this one. You can see some empanadas in the back, and have ready-to-go frozen dishes. Yvonne, I wanted to ask you first, what's the most unexpected lesson you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey?
I love this collective because we inspire each other, we work with each other. But one of the unexpected lessons that I learned is that it's a business. I have to think about the business first. I'm one of those people who want to help the world. And in doing that, I actually heard, so we actually experienced that this past summer, where I had helped someone get their license and everything like that, and then they showed up at the same place that I sell my stuff, selling the same product as me, and I was like, what is going on? You know, and I still helped her. And I really thought about it. I said, you know what, we really need to stop and think, and not to stop helping people, but to think about what's best for my business, and then how can I help them in addition to that without hurting us. So that was one of the things for us. That was very unexpected.
That's a really interesting story, and I think relatable for folks who go in it with passion and heart, and then they have to do business strategy, and that feels kind of unnatural. I know. Totally fair. When you need business advice, who do you turn to?
So I am a researcher. I'm always, and I'm curious, so I like to learn about a lot of things. So when it comes to the business, I am online most of the time. So that's my main go-to source. I look up what other people have done. I look at the failures, the successes. Top Chef is one of the things I love to watch because I like to look up those chefs that were on the show and see what they've done since then, have their businesses strive, what happens. I see like a lot of them close and then they open other ones. It's like a lot of craziness. But for me, the next thing I want to do in the business, then I look that up. So for example, with like the frozen food packaging that we just started over the winter break, I have been looking that up for a few years. For like 2 years, I've been looking it up because I want to make sure that we have everything on point, whatever I need. It's not something fast. So when you are researching something for your business, you have to remember that it might not be right away because you got to make sure you have all of your information. You want to make sure it fits in the budget, everything like that too.
What has been your biggest challenge running a business, and how did you overcome it?
The biggest challenge in running the business is staffing. We're a mother-son team. We've been a mother and son team since we started, and it's rough. We grow every year, so it's more and more and more that we have to do, but we do it somehow. I did have 3 employees last year, my friend's kids, the 2 kids, they came and helped. My son's best friend, they came for like 2 months and helped us do empanadas because we needed a lot. And it's a challenge. And how we ended up by making it work for us, where it's not so much, is that I just grow a little bit every year. I just say, okay, what can I do this year to add to this? What else can we do where I can handle it, that it's not too much for me, because I don't want to burn out either. I mean, it's just us, and he has college, so I don't have him all the time after the summer. But that's something that I thought about. Okay, what can I handle? What do I need next? Okay, we can do this. Let's fit this in. All right, we made it through the summer. Okay, we can add this now. So that's how I've kind of gauged it for us. So like with the frozen food now that we'll be adding for this summer, that's the next thing that we're adding on top of what we already do. Yeah.
When did you feel successful as a business owner, or what was the first moment you thought to yourself, oh, I'm really doing this?
A lot of people don't know. I used to work for TSA at the airport, yes. And the pandemic hit, I was still at TSA, and the September of 2020 is when I decided to do the business full force. I was doing it for a year, just word of mouth through work, because my coworkers wanted some food, and through church, because I would give them empanadas for the big party, you know, whatever. I would donate like 300 empanadas. And everyone was like, you should sell it, you should sell it. So I did the business and TSA at the same time for a few years. And all of a sudden, it was January 2023 that I got a call from an organizer of the Chocolate Expo. I don't know if you know the Chocolate Expo. And we were in California. And they're like, yeah, it's the date it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, when we get home, we only have a week to prepare. And then I thought to myself, then they had one in New Jersey and one in Long Island. And we were going to go do those too. And I said, we don't have time. How can I do that and TSA? Because if you know the airport, you just can't take days off. You can't call out. No, it doesn't work that way. So I made a decision and I left TSA and I started doing the business full time. So it's been a little over 2 years doing the business full time.
That's wonderful. I think also hearing about those years of juggling both is really relatable for a lot of people. Who or what has been your source of support in your business journey?
So I have 3. The first one is my son, Miguel. You want to say hi to everybody? He's an introvert, but he loves helping. He has been my right-hand person from the beginning, from when I was making the empanada dough recipes to everything that I make. Now he makes the brownies, he makes the juices, he makes the stuffed cornbread, so he's actually doing a little bit more. This is not his thing either. It's not his it's not what he wants to do for a living. He's in IT, but he does it, and I wouldn't be able to do it without him. Let's just put it that way. My second support is my mom. Every single event we do, every single festival, every single farmer's market, afterwards, on the way back to the kitchen, we call my mom. She's in California, so she's 3 hours behind. So we call her. She's waiting for me to call. And she's like, okay. And in her little Spanish accent, okay, how much did you do? And she has a little pad and pencil at her computer desk. Okay, and she says, let me write it in Spanish. She tells me, let me write it down. Okay, and then at the end of the week, she's like, oh, you sold this much this week. So she's the second support. My third support, which is the most important, I'm very religious. So for me, none of this, although I have Miguel and of course my mom pushing us, I wouldn't be able to do any of it without God. So I pray a lot about the business. I meditate a lot about what's next, and I try to see what does he want me to do, which path does he want me to take. And I just really try to be very deep in prayer to figure out what's my next step. Kind of like that.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you. Next up, we have Francelis of Me Now You Consulting. Welcome to the stage. Hi. Me Now You Consulting offers DEI trainings and workshops, painting events to build community, and retreats to promote team building. Francelis has discovered her true calling, guiding people to cultivate the agency necessary to become their best selves. Francelis, what's one piece of advice you wish you'd had when you first started?
Hi, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me here. I don't know how Yvonne was up here with no notes. So I think one piece of advice is definitely that there are places out there that want to help you. There are business accelerators. There are small business programs and grants that are out there. There are many people that are willing, able, and wanting to help you. There are people there are people that have designed their business structure so that you thrive. There are people that are out there looking to help you reach the stars so that we can meet a common mission and vision about who we are as a people. I think that's the thing that we miss when we first begin. We think we're alone. We think it's only for them. We think, they already have it hold down for generations. How are we going to get in there? That's not for me. So for a piece of advice, I would say there's the ALX Business Accelerator. There was Kat Everett offered a small business for women of color. My very good friend and mentor through this process said to me, one day I said, well, who's going to pay for that? And she said to me, and I love her, and I'm so glad I have people like this in my life. She said, girl, you don't love yourself. Somebody else said that to me, and I'm like, what is she saying there, though? you don't love yourself. If you are saying that nobody's gonna pay for this, if you are yourself saying that, then who will? So instead of me going down the road of like business and learning and structure, I was like, girl, you better love yourself. It took me down a very different journey. And that gave me the courage, the encouragement, the excitement, the ability to really take any advice that I would have been able to have in the beginning of my process and run with it, you know?
How has being a woman of color made your entrepreneurial experience unique?
I am a trained history teacher. I taught American world history for almost 15 years. If you understand systems of oppression in this country was built on, founded on by white men who owned land and owned their wives, okay? So if we're talking about making something in this country that's revolutionary, transformative, different, all I have to do is be. I wasn't meant to be a business owner. I wasn't meant to be the leader. I wasn't meant to be running stuff, but you know what? I am. So it's simple for me to exist in the world, in this world, as a woman of color. It's my superpower. Felicia, thank you for saying that. It is truly, truly something that makes me very different from business structures as they are right now, of what people offer. I'm not offering you exactly what's out there. I'm telling you there's different ways to do it. You might do a two-step, but I got a better way. You know, like there's all different things that we can offer. And I think outside of the box, I can bring in my personal lived experience into something that may show a perspective or some type of guidance that could lead answers and solutions in ways that may not have existed before. So I proudly walk as a woman of color because there's no other choice. It's this or die. Hello.
Thank you for that. How do you hope your business will grow and change in the future?
I love this question. I hope my business will change where I'm right here and I'm making money no matter what happens. You know what I mean? This is a failure of mine in the beginning of this process to understand I'm a trainer, I'm a facilitator, I'm a guider, I'm an educator. So this work, if I'm sick, it doesn't happen. So as a business person, I had to think outside of the box for myself. I'm trying to build a world where I am free. So I can't build a jail for myself. I had to build all of the other pivots that would create my reality, right? And that leads me to that place of like, who am I? What is the portrait of my life? Who am I? What are the pieces I like? I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, but I'm also a teacher, I'm an educator, I'm a facilitator, I'm a painter, I'm a dancer. I do a lot of things that people don't necessarily put a monetary value on, but if I can find a way to monetize the things that bring me life, then I can do the things that suck my life, but with intentionality, with a plan, with a cushion, and with support, right? Not just lily-gagging around, hoping for the best, wishing something sticks. I'm not doing that either, because they're hoping I die. And if I do that, I will, and I'm not.
Thank you, Fraselis. Appreciate it. Francelis of Me Now You Consulting. Next up, could I welcome Wanda of Club 11 Social. Wanda is a marketing strategist and entrepreneur with a strong business foundation in business operations and brand building. Club 11 Social specializes in brand strategy, content creation, social media, and experiential marketing. Beyond business, Wanda is dedicated to mentorship and community, guiding fellow entrepreneurs and creating spaces for others to thrive. What's one piece of advice you wish you'd had when you first started?
Well, thank you for having me. I love this question because I consider myself a serial entrepreneur. So, the journey has been long. I think at this point I'm close to maybe 10 years, just building businesses. And when I first started, when I think of baby Wanda, just learning as she's going, I think about how I was so set on, I'm starting here and I want to end up there. And there's one line and I have to follow that. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. I wish someone had told me, be flexible. There are so many avenues to get to where you want to be, and that flexibility makes the journey so much easier and bearable. And there's a lot more grace along the way if you have that.
What's the most unexpected lesson you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey?
I kind of threw myself into entrepreneurship very scared because all I heard was entrepreneurship is hard and it's lonely. And as I've grown, I realized that yes, it's definitely hard. No one can ever take that away from us. We know that. But it doesn't necessarily have to be lonely. There is community out there. And that can look like so many different things, right? So you can have a local community like this. Like, this is just amazing. This feels so amazing. And it really invigorates you and makes you want to keep going. But the internet is a humongous place. So if you don't have it in your local area, try online. You might be surprised. You'll find a community for where you're at, but also where you want to go and where you've been. So you can share, you can guide, you can teach. And if it's not there, build it yourself.
Thank you for that. Isolation, I feel like, is one of the biggest things I hear from solo entrepreneurs. And I think there are traditional ways of networking, like going to events, but the reminder of online, I think, is really positive, that everyone socializes in different ways. And if a forum is for you or a Zoom call is for you, like, go and do that and find community anywhere. Thank you. What has been your biggest challenge running a business, and how did you overcome it?
I have built businesses across different industries. And there are a lot of common things, right? Like, we could always use more money. We could always use more eyes on what we're building. But I think more personal, I think the biggest thing was the mental, right? Entrepreneurship takes us out of our comfort zone so much, and it kind of is almost like counterintuitive to what we learn, right? We're taught stability. We're taught, bring in that paycheck, you'll know what it is, it'll be there, and you can do X, Y, and Z with it, and entrepreneurship really kind of gets you out of that. And so I think throughout my journey, I really had to develop the mental fortitude to stick around. I think for me, that looked like therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy. And also through therapy, I was able to learn asking yourself why. Don't get complacent. Why do I do that? When I have a big event coming up, why do I get so nervous I don't want to go? And you might realize those thoughts and those beliefs that you have aren't actually yours. They could be someone that you grew up with. It could be the environment that you were in. It could be a number of things, but just challenging your mental and building that as you're going is vital.
My last question for you, Wanda. How do you balance motherhood and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I have a baby. She's 2, and she is the light of my life. But motherhood is really hard, and so is entrepreneurship. And I wish that I could say that every time it's 50-50, right? Like, I'm able to give her what she needs and I'm able to give my business what it needs. But that's not necessarily the case. And so I kind of just go about it by analyzing who needs what today, one step at a time. Today, my daughter needs more from me, so I'm going to give her that because she deserves that. Maybe in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, my business will need more of me and I'll give my business that. But doing so with grace and forgiving yourself for potential moments that you might not be able to show up, but also understanding that there will be things that you're okay with missing, and that's just what it is. But there are non-negotiables, and you should stick to that, has been really, really important to me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Wanda. Next up, we have Flora of North 3 Street House B&B. Hi. Northeast Street House B&B was started after 9/11 when Flora's job was outsourced offshore. Then a single mom with 2 school-aged children to raise, she worked for a temp agency while starting up her newly formed enterprise. Today, The Northie House is an award-winning business that welcomes everyone. Flora, what legacy do you hope to leave behind through your business?
It's a business that I've built and expanded. So preserving the history of this historic house and doing it with thoughtful design and doing it in a sustainable manner. I think that's what I would like to leave as a legacy. I don't know if I'm the first Asian woman-owned B&B in Salem. So, I mean, if that was true, I would love to have that as part of my legacy.
I think you might be, so we can recognize that. What is your biggest piece of advice for when it comes to funding?
So when I started and I needed to expand, I went to Salem State University Enterprise Center. They have retired business people that are really helpful, give advice, but this gentleman helped me put together a business plan. I mean, he was just so helpful. I cannot, and they have free workshops. They have just a wealth of resources. So I would highly recommend people going there.
Yeah, they're a great resource. How do you use your business to uplift your community?
Let's see. So I love gardening. And I live in Bridge Street Neck, and there's, if you go on Bridge Street Neck, Bridge Street, and then you turn, where the old jail is, there's like two traffic islands that are just, when they redid Bridge Street, it was just like this awful traffic island. The welcome sign just had like dirt and weeds, and then the corner island had just like, it was a lot of, I was like wondering why things didn't grow there very well, because it was like filled with the construction, broken concrete and debris, and there was like, deeply rooted weeds. And anyway, so it's also a form of therapy for me also. So I just went for it and tackled it, and and then eventually I come to sponsor the island there, and then also I created the Bridge Street Neck Neighborhood Association, and then the Neighborhood Association is sponsoring the traffic island with the welcome sign. So, and then just doing the parks, and so I'm involved a lot with the sustainability and beautification of Salem.
That's wonderful that the physical representation of this history and the beauty that you see goes beyond just the B&B, it sounds like, all over town. What does the economy and politics have to do with startups and small businesses?
So, as the saying goes, the rising tide lifts all boats. And what does this have to do with us, in Salem? Well, as we can see in the current political climate, an elected official has the ability to improve our economic ecosystem or destroy it, like tariffs. So when I started my B&B, Mayor Kim Driscoll was running for mayor, and then we elected her, and then she created Destination Salem, and it promoted Salem all over the world, and making it a destination which lifted all the businesses. And then last year and a half, Mayor Pengallo ran against Neil Harrington, and Neil Harrington actually said that he wanted to get rid of haunted happenings, our biggest economic event of the year, which a lot of small businesses depend on. You know, I mean, it's like a lot of them, it's like half of their revenue. You know, so it's very much very important to get involved, be engaged, and know who we're electing, what they stand for, and how they're going to help us as a small business.
A follow-up to that, how do you recommend people become involved and stay engaged with local politics?
We can only do what, you know, we can do if that's within our control. And within our control is our small town, you know, all politics are local. We have to hold people accountable. We have to call out people here locally that are, you know, doing bad things, basically, you know, and then we have to uplift the people who are doing the right things, like we're doing here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Flora. Next up, we have Daybar of Edicts Provisions. Edicts Provisions, located on Main Street in Peabody, is proudly New England's first Black-owned cheese shop. With a mission of cheese for all, they aim to create an inclusive space where everyone can enjoy gourmet cheese, whether you are dairy-free, gluten-free, vegan, or have a nut allergy. What's the most unexpected lesson you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey?
I'd have to say, your marketing, as much as you probably think your marketing is enough and is loud enough, it's probably not. It's probably not. My husband and I opened our business in 2023, and we had so much fun utilizing like our Instagram page, eating and drinking and traveling across the North Shore. We thought we had a decent handle on like how to connect with people. And opening up our store for it's just completely different. You know, like the amount of energy you need to put into promoting yourself and sharing what you do. It's never enough, and if you feel like you're doing enough, you got to do 10 times more than that. So that was something I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah, I feel like marketing can go really far. There's like no end. What kind of change would you like to see happen in the small business community?
Yeah, I think that some areas do this better than others. I think Salem does a really great job of it. I feel like I'd like to see more camaraderie with businesses, and then businesses utilizing each other's strengths to build each other up. I'm on a main street right now, and I love my main street, and we have really great camaraderie, but we are working on figuring out how to have that like intertwine seamlessly and, you know, kind of share our customers with each other. And it's tricky, and you have to figure it out amongst yourselves, and everyone's busy. But I think it really does elevate business. I recently had folks come from the South Shore because of a TikTok video I did, which blew me away because I'm so bad at TikTok. And they spent a good chunk of money in my store, which I was not expecting. And immediately after they bought a 10-inch box of cheese and started to kind of hang out in the store, I mentioned that there was a brewery down the street. Like, obviously, I would have loved for them to stay and hang out, but we would have just been staring at each other. It's more of a retail experience. And I was able to send them over to the brewery. So they got to experience my business and Granite Coast at the same exact time. And I think we need to do more of that, even virtually, if we can.
That's wonderful. Love to hear that in Peabody. How has being a woman of color made your entrepreneur experience unique?
Yeah, so I recently found out that I am the first Black-owned cheese shop in New England, which kind of blew me away. And there's a magazine out there called Culture Magazine, and I'm a fangirl for them. I love everything they do. I subscribe to them. And I tried to look for other Black-owned cheese shops in the area just to connect with them, try to feel a little camaraderie and see what they're going through, see if I'm going through any of the same things. And I couldn't find any on my own, and I kept seeing articles from 2020 with folks trying to also find them. So then I was like, let me just hit up Culture, because they gotta know what's going on here, because they're nationwide. And they're like, yeah, no, there's nobody else. And I was like, oh shoot, okay. So my questions changed. It went from being like wanting to ask those businesses, like, what are you going through, to being like, okay, so what am I gonna do? Like, how do I kind of get out there and maybe influence more Black-owned owners to want to come into the cheese world. Another thing, just being a black woman in general, especially coming from West Africa, I was born in the Ivory Coast, my family's from Liberia. Cheese is not part of our diet. Like, it's kind of a joke, like cheese doesn't really exist. And my dad still doesn't really understand what I do. It's not real food for them. You know, there are African countries that do make cheese, and those are kind of getting really cool exposure, but just from the countries I'm from, it's not a part of our diet. So yeah, I didn't realize that was something I was going to be really attracted to. So it is important for me, being the first, like, here in New England, to try and find more people of color, or even West African people, black women who are passionate about cheese, to try and like help grow that a little bit, just because I know that as a demographic, there's not a lot of us anyways, you know, so yeah.
That's amazing and beautiful storytelling. Thank you. Self-care is essential to successful sustainability. After a long day, what's your go-to guilty pleasure, and what fills your cup?
Yeah, so my family definitely fills my cup. They're a lot, though. So my guilty pleasure is reality TV and crime. Unfortunately, I like crime. I don't like crime, but you know what I mean. I gotta be careful how I say that. But I like a real docu-series. I like a long one. I like a little mystery. So yeah, those are my guilty pleasures. I think just that escapism and mystery kind of like lets me go into my little silo and re-energize.
That's great. I think with when you're a small business owner, there's no like 9 to 5 turning it off. So I think that like veg, and especially if it like totally distracts you, like another world, is really healthy. How do you hope your business will grow or change in the future?
Yeah, so we're going through a major pivot right now. When I opened my business, I thought we were going to be like a retail storefront. We're going to put all these really cool gourmet things in there, and people are going to come and be really excited about the products on our shelves. Literally less than a few months later, I realized we just didn't have the funding to bring in the cool products that I wanted to bring in. So I'm like, okay, crap, that was going to be the calling, the cool products I could find to put on the shelf. So we quickly had to pivot and be like, what else can we do? My husband comes from a restaurant background. He's been a sous chef. He's been a multi-unit manager for some fast service restaurants. And then I have experience in wine. I have my WSET level 2 in wine, and then quartermaster sommelier level 1. So we really like wine. We like food. So we kind of put those two passions together, and we started doing charcuterie platters out of our store space. During our build out, we didn't necessarily have in our plan to have a cold prep kitchen space. It was a crazy build out, and closer to the end, we decided to invest in it. And I'm so glad we did, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be registered with the city and the state and have all the insurance and certifications to be able to do this in our space. So it was kind of kismet that we pulled the trigger on kind of an expensive piece of the project. We're leaning into that pivot now, and it's been the way that we're connecting with the community through cheese and charcuterie, which makes a lot of sense. So now our marketing needs to change, and our messaging needs to change. So it's really like a rebirth of a brand that I had envisioned, and it was sad mourning what I wanted to do for a while. But we're pivoting, and I think it's going to be good for us, my family, and just like hopefully the community.
Well, that change has been lovely, because now we get to have your charcuterie board at our events. Thank you so much, Devar. Appreciate it. Next, I'd like to invite up Gladys of Intinova Consulting. Gladys, founder and principal consultant of Intinova Consulting Services, is a dedicated advocate for economic equity, empowering small businesses and entrepreneurs. Originally from Lima, Peru, she has over a decade of experience in business consulting, specializing in social and sustainable practices. Gladys, when you need business advice, who do you turn to?
I don't know if people are aware of this, but you can't have one person for everything, right? So I have a friend who works in finance, like Morgan Stanley. I have a friend who comes from Silicon Valley, does development. So depending on the question, I go to that person. Even if it's a 10-minute event call or passing out an idea, it really depends on the situation. I think for me, if I can't get the right answer, maybe I'm not asking the correct way, I definitely like to reflect on that and sit and focus on the problem. Because I think a lot of us in businesses, we become obsessed with a solution, but I think the opposite way. I become obsessed with the problem. Because when you become obsessed with the problem, you start seeing different areas of opportunities. Yeah.
That's great advice. I think also having multiple opinions, like multiple people to go to, is helpful because sometimes someone can be discouraging or whatever, and you need to get a second opinion. What kind of networking has been the most impactful?
I like to say that I'm in my comadre doña era. For those who do not speak Spanish, that means like your older adult golden girl vibes, even though I'm young. I think for networking, I do it with a purpose, right? Like being in this space and community, I actually like to build relationships. So with my fellow panelists, I learned that one is like a wonderful dancer. She's up next and she teaches this. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that, right? Like building genuine connections. Yes, there are those networking spaces that's very corporate, very transactional. And of course, like I have to, figure it out. How do I leverage my social capital? But I think overall, I like to hang out with people who look like me, who come from the LGBTQ community like me, who are immigrants, who are mixed race. So that's how I leverage networking. Yeah.
How do you hope your business will grow or change in the future?
I definitely am working with some venture capitalists to make digital applications accessible for all business owners in all multilinguages. So I'm doing a huge pitch next month. So hopefully you get funded so I can actually put this in fruition. But I definitely want to enter the digital landscape, not just in the United States, but abroad as well. Like, being from Peru and Latin America, the technology industry has boomed, and it's like, why can't we bring those tools to our neighbors, right? Because they can have the same knowledge as me, they have the same opportunities, right? However, can I show them that tool so they can make their own business, right? Because the best business owners are the bodega owners, from my experience.
After a long day, what's your go-to guilty pleasure? What fills your cup?
I love anime and manga, so I was before all of these Demon Slayers and My Hero Academia vibes, original 90s kid Pokemon, so I love to read mangas. They're better than telenovelas, I swear. And now there's the Korean dramas and the Turkish telenovelas on Netflix, but definitely seeing all that like drama, I'm like, oh, this is so great. It's better than reality TV. And just also, I have a gratitude journal as well of like I think sometimes when you're so busy and overwhelmed with our personal and professional lives, it's always good to take a step back and reflect. At the end of the day, it's free. It's called @Gratitude Journal. You can find it at the Apple Store. This is not sponsored. I just like to definitely share that because I like the prompts too, and it's really helpful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's lovely. If you could have a fiesta with any Latina icon, who would it be and what would you celebrate?
I love Walter Mercado. For those... If you don't know who Walter Mercado is, I'm really sorry. I said this also on a podcast that I was on. I love astrology. It comes from my indigeneity, like the Incan Empire, and so I just want to have chisme sessions and talk about what the stars are saying and how to move forward. And I love good chisme, positive chisme. I don't like negative, toxic chisme. But Walter and I would have like comadre hour. And be like, what does my business look like? It's gonna look down to 5 years down the road. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Alrighty, time for our final panelist, Yaya of Cultural Latina Dance Academy. Yaya was born and raised in the Dominican Republic, immigrated to the USA in the fall of 2001, and has lived in Lynn ever since. She founded Cultural Latina Dance Academy, a nonprofit organization, in 2011. Its mission is to enhance, share, and connect our culture and community through dance. CLDA students learn about leadership, self-esteem, discipline, and teamwork, necessary skills for their future. Yaya, when you need business advice, who do you turn to?
It depends on the what the situation is, what the question is. So I have I'm blessed with many people around me that whenever I need something, I can go to that person or call. I'm much into prayer, and I'm also, my mom has been entrepreneur, whether she believes it or not. She had a little bodega in Dominican Republic, and I always ask her a question. I also have my husband, who is my, whenever I need critic for something, I'm like, tell me what's wrong so I can fix it. And then he helps me with that. And then I have a couple of people on my board that are amazing human beings, and yes, John. I'm just blessed with people that I can go to whenever I have an issue and find a way to solve it.
How do you, just curious, how do you stay receptive to feedback? It sounds like you put things out there and you say what's wrong. That's kind of, you gotta be brave.
You have to have a thick skin when you're an entrepreneur. And sometimes things get to your heart, and then you feel bad, and you process, and then you come across from it, and you realized, okay, this person told me this, and it broke my heart, but they meant it in the best way. And then you come out of it, and then you find, a better journey. But it's not easy. Taking criticism is not easy. I'm sure everybody can vouch for that.
What has been your biggest challenge running a business, and how did you overcome it?
Money. I think there's a lot. There's the fact that I'm Latina, that I'm a woman, that I dare to dream, and that I dare to say, you don't want me, I'm here. So there has been a lot of challenges, and a few years back, the arts and the creative community is very undermined. And for us, getting funding and getting out there, and people knowing your project and believing it, and saying, here, I love for you to have money, and for you to get funded, and for you to, so that has been one of the biggest challenge. But again, I'm blessed with people that have guided me, and to be able to tell my story better, to be able to get in the right rooms, or sometimes when I don't feel like talking to people, I go to a networking and stand in the corner, and John drags me and like, no, I need you to meet this person. And there's so many people that I'm blessed with that push me. I have a social battery, so I'm very friendly, very butterfly-like until not. And then I'm like, okay, it's time to go home. Or I have that one day that I want to dance until 7 in the morning. So it's funny, but the challenge coming across is going back to those people and telling them, this is the situation, this is where I am, this is the problem, and then how can I get better? We had a very strong conversation with my good friend, and he sat with me in my office during COVID time, you know who you are, and he told me, you're not telling your story the way you should be. You have an amazing product, you have an amazing project, and you're doing so much, but people are not understanding what you're doing. They see what you're doing, but they don't understand. And so I have been working on how to tell my story better, and that has been like getting on the other side of the challenge.
We're doing a great job of it now. I remember in our conversations, you talked a lot about bringing young people in and teaching them skills. How do you use your business to uplift your community? I'm assuming through a bit of that work, but if you could tell us about that.
We are changing our mission, whether we want it or not. Our mission statement is changing. Our mission, she read it, is very, very nice. But now we're saying we are engaging social emotional support to our students and their families, because we have come across with so much emotional and social inconvenience in our community, and we have been forced, not in a negative connection, but forced to pivot from, we are a dance academy, we dance, we are happy, but yes, but let's find an issue. You don't have a home. All right, so I have a friend, Aline Housing, go talk to her. Oh, I having certain inconveniences at home. Okay, so go talk to Hawk. And so we are making so many connections now that our academy is not just dance now. So it's a social emotional kind of like bridge, but we're using dance to get to people. So the catch is dance, And then all of the other things is how we're helping our community.
That's beautiful. Thank you. My last question for you, Yaya, is after a long day, what is your guilty pleasure and how do you fill your cup? We must know.
Too many, too many. I love wine. Yes, and I love cheese too. Wine, chocolate, sometimes not alcoholics. We love tea, so we sit down and watch some chisme novela and drink tea or just talk about the day. My way to disconnect from the world is going into a fantasy, so I'm a big fan of like vampires and werewolves, and so fictional character is my way to disconnect from reality, and so to have that pause. So my guilty pleasure: wine, cheese, chocolate, tea, vampires, and werewolves.
Thank you so much, Yaya. Appreciate it. Alrighty, thank you so much to our panelists for coming up and giving us your stories and your time. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break so we can rearrange the front so that we can have all 7 panelists seated, and then we'll open up for a Q&A. Feel free to run in the bathroom, grab another bite, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. So this brings us to our second half of the event, which will be a Q&A panel of all the panelists and time for you to ask all your questions. We only have one mic, unfortunately, so I'm just going to be running around. So when you have a question, raise your hand. I'll run to you, or you second if someone comes first, and then I'll run the mic back up here. And then you let us know if there's a question for a specific panelist, that's fine. If it's a question for all those in food or for everybody, and then you can just pass the mic for back and forth, and we'll do a bit of that. Sound good? Do we have someone who wants to kick us off with the first question for the panel? Yeah?
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. This has been incredible. I'm not an entrepreneurial or creative person, but I'm feeling inspired. So that's awesome. We talked a lot about it's been mentioned a lot about marketing and how that's so important to be super visible and get your message out there. And I'm super curious for anyone who wants to answer, where did the names come from? So there are so many unique names and ideas, and I would love to hear like the story of like, I named it this because this.
That's a fun question. Gladys, do you want to start us off and send it down?
Yeah, so Inti is an indigenous word from the Incan Empire, which means the god of sun. So in the Incan times, they had multiple gods. So Inti is very well known in Peru, and I've always loved that word. And then Nova for innovación or innovation. So what happened was one day my mom and my aunt were all in my house, and I was like, I like these words, make something. And that's what happened. And then my logo is the Incan rocks. So it's a little pebble that creates a giant pebble, because for those who do not know about Machu Picchu, they created these stones and artwork without tools and wheelbarrow. So, yeah.
Club 11 Social, really what we do is we grow through strategy and build community. At least that's what we're helping businesses do. And so Club is just kind of that community aspect of it. 11 is we're working with founders. Founders always go above and beyond, so above that 10. And then social is just our kind of like what we do. We focus on branding, marketing, social media, and content creation.
La frontera sabrosa. So frontera is bifold. Frontera is my last name. My dad's from Puerto Rico, so that comes from him. My mom's Dominican, so our food comes from that. But frontera also means border. So in our food, we don't only do Hispanic food, but we also do fusion with other countries. So we're crossing borders to other countries, whether it be India, Greece, Africa, Egypt. We have an Egyptian dessert that we do. So we have those things. So that's why I wanted it to be bifold, my last name and then that. And then Sabrosa came from my sister. Because at first we were La Frontera, right, in 2019, and then she's like, no, it needs to be something better. We don't know what you are. I'm like, okay. And so we started playing around with delicious and all those things like that, and Sabrosa means delicious and tasty in Spanish.
In 2018, my husband and I moved back to the North Shore. I'm originally from Peabody, graduated Peabody High School. After we got married, we moved to Providence for a little bit. had a lot of fun there, had our baby, got pregnant, and moved back closer to family. And we started eating and drinking around the North Shore because we literally were just so surprised by how much had changed in the time that we were gone. So we started an Instagram page and we started running around with our baby, eating and drinking all over the North Shore. And we just named our Instagram handle Eat, Drink, Explore. And we had a lot of fun with Eat, Drink, Explore North Shore. And we had a lot of fun with that. So when we got the opportunity to start our business, it just made sense for it to kind of come from that, because a lot of the folks that we met while we were eating and drinking across the North Shore really inspired us to want to do something here on the North Shore. So we were like, how do we kind of throw in the shop in this? And that's where Provisions came from. I'm happy that's the name, but it is tricky for some people to conceptualize. And now that our focus is charcuterie, it's tough because you have all these charcuterie companies out there with really cutesy charcuterie names, and that's just like not us. So we're in this like in between, but it's authentic to our story.
Cultura Latina Dance Academy. Very straightforward, but it was not. We played around with few different names the first 2 years. We went from Mi Estilo, Yaya's Dance, few different names. But for me, it was important to pay homage to my heritage and also incorporate that I feel very, very American or very, very connected to the United States. Half of my life I lived here, half of my life I lived in Dominican Republic, and I was told that I should not name it Cultura Latina, so I did. That's why we said Cultura Latina, because we are a strong Latino heritage, and then Dance Academy, because we dance and it's academy. So, yes.
That's beautiful. My company's name is Me Now You Consulting, and my logo is a bird of paradise. And if you've ever seen a bird of paradise, they start out very rigid and green, and then you have to pull from the center out toward the middle so that you can see this amazing, beautiful array of color and light and sunshine. And it varies from coral to like a really dark blue, but it opens up in this beautiful way. My work along my whole life has been figuring out a way to get my very uptight green ass out of the coral to show the beautiful parts of me. I did tomboy, shell, tough girl to protect that beautiful flower in me. And it took me a lot of work, understanding the medicine wheel, that I'm not just a human that's in physical form, but I'm in spiritual form. I'm also, a being of energy, and I'm also a mental being. So understanding all four elements of myself helped me become who I am today and helped me do the work. As I told you, I was a history teacher. So as a teacher, you're already pulling teeth, okay? So I figured, let me pull the flower and show you. As a teacher, I did that for many different students, and as a human being, I did it for myself. And the only way that I can get you to do anything is if I did it first. And so I say me, now you, and then let's do this together.
Northeast Street is very pragmatic. It's an extension of Winter Street. It's a unique word, Northy with the EY at the end. So I wanted to put it on the map. So, improve the neighborhood, get it on the map because it's close to the aristocrats. But it's actually a beautiful street. It's got all the amenities it has the most beautiful sunset, at the end of the street, over the North River, and so Northeast Street. Not very, inspiration as these names, but very pragmatic.
Do we have another question in the audience?
Hello, thank you. First, I just want to say thank you. I loved hearing all of your stories, and I definitely learned something as a fellow woman entrepreneur. I ask this question to every woman in business that I meet, and I think it's important. I encourage you all to do the same, but what kind of support do you need right now? What can we help you with so we can continue to support you? You can be very specific or you can be very vague, but please let us know how we can continue to support you beyond today.
At Northy House.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Francelis, FRANCELLIS 121 at Instagram. You'll find me at menowyouconsulting.com. You can come and be a part of my events. You can come and donate. You can come and support. I think what I need right now really is for you to know that I do immersive, engaging trainings that people are scared of. People don't know they need it, don't know they want it until they run into a problem. I am the reason and part of solutions for retention, for hiring, for maintaining a good workforce, for being able to have, the ability to have a culture where people are excited to be a part of it. DEI is a ramp. DEI is an elevator access. DEI is access to, understanding your history that is intentionally being denied of you. There are many different things that DEI does, but first and foremost, it brings people together. It does not divide. It brings bridges. It builds community. So what I would want you to do is remember me when someone says, I really need something that can build something that is going to last, that's going to be transformative, that's going to be engaging, that's going to help us come out of something together with a solution that is thought out and intentional. Because if anything, if I'm walking into a space and I'm creating something for you and you leave exactly the same way, I have failed you. So my job is always for you to leave somehow action-oriented, thinking about something. So my help that I need is for you to come and help me. Look it up, figure out what I'm doing. Find my name and my website into spaces that I'm not in. When I'm not in that room, when they're asking for those supports, when you know that they need a certain mission, when you hear about an RFP that they're doing and they need a particular DEI consultant, I hope Francelis Nunez comes to your mind.
Strong, love it. We are nonprofit, so we are a passion project. So our main thing that we always gonna vouch for is funding, and we also are arts and dance, not the most popular when it comes to funding. So that is the main thing that we would always need, and then we are currently in need. Sponsorships, donations. We are 501c3, so donate $1, donate 10,000. It's tax deductible. And social media. Follow us, CLDA Lynn. Very easy to get to. It's our initials, and just kind of connecting with more people. That's always the one that is extremely important. And being in the room with the right people, so whenever you need, they are available for you. So those are our main 3 things that we always need.
So I would love people to better understand what my business is trying to do here on the North Shore. We get compared a lot to other charcuterie businesses and then other cheese shops on the North Shore, and I would just want people to understand that we're doing something different. When you own a retail shop, the items that you stock in your store is basically what you're trying to curate, what you're trying to push forward, and the message I'm trying to send in our storefront is very different from those other businesses. We're trying to stock our store with women-owned businesses, things from different cultures, things from BIPOC businesses, and then also top allergen 9 and things that respect dietary restrictions. Our biggest issue right now is just trying to get our name out there, create more business so we can have more funds to invest in these businesses that I think are necessary here on the North Shore. We do have a little bit of everything I just mentioned, but in order for us to grow our selection, we've got to do more business and create more revenue.
So one of the things that we needed help with, you've already helped us with. Yes, you hooked us up with Manca. If you don't know who Manca is, ask her about it. Manca is one of the organizations that's part of this as well. And they got us in touch with ALX, which helps businesses, as it's a nonprofit that actually gives you business training, and they actually are consultants too. So through the help of the CDC, we now have consulting with them to do our wholesale licensing. That's our goal. Our goal is to be wholesale, not to have a brick and mortar. We actually want to be in supermarkets and have restaurants buy from us, so be distributors of our own products. So we're on our path to doing that. what we could use now with you, being a two-person team, we're constantly working the booth. We don't have the opportunity to do the social media, to take pictures of ourselves. We're constantly selling and cooking, and so we don't have that. So that's a big, big thing that we are lacking right now that we could use help with.
I'm a solo entrepreneur, so I think where I'm at right now in my journey, I'm really looking to build social capital. I think that, when we go into business kind of oftentimes equates to money in a lot of minds, but people can get so far with social capital. That is something that, when you're mentioning being online, showing up, that's social capital. And so I'm really focusing on attending events like this, hosting potentially events like this, and then just really showing up online as a kind of newer business.
Wow, you all are so inspiring, and thank you for being vulnerable. Entrepreneurship is hard. I think we can all agree with that. I think for me, because I'm trained in innovation, I love to collaborate with everybody, making free events, making events happen that are paid for community. And I think what I need for support is just people to come talk. Like, I really do genuinely love to make connections, and if I'm not the right person that you have an idea or problem with, I'm happy to refer you within my networks. I don't believe in gatekeeping because of systemic issues and oppression, but I just want to collaborate with folks and make events happen. I'm a really good event planner. So happy to collaborate with the panelists here as well. Yeah.
That was such a great question. All those answers are very helpful for me as feedback. They gave me a to-do list, so thank you. Do we have another question in the audience?
Hi. So my question is, have you ever felt imposter syndrome? And if so, what strategies do you use to overcome the imposter syndrome? Especially when you're in a space where maybe you're one of the few women to be present. So, yeah.
So as someone who has pitched to C-suite people, VCs, I don't really care about their opinions about me. I think what I care about is my product gonna give me your money? Am I gonna get your money as an investor to make this happen for the solution that I'm trying to build? I think imposter syndrome is really hard, especially if you come from a historically marginalized affinity group. I think the best way to mitigate any type of imposter syndrome is to build spaces like this, or you make your own space, or you go to someone. And also just thinking back, like I think Michelle Obama said a quote in one of her autobiography that sometimes you enter these spaces and those people are dumb. She didn't say it like that, but that's right. She was telling the truth. You're like, oh, really? Okay. And as someone who has seen these people, cisgender, heterosexual white men, I'm like, how did y'all make it? Oh, that's right, social capital. But at the end of the day is I'm here for the mind and idea that I have, and there are days that I cry and there are days I rally, and I always keep in mind the reason of why am I doing this. Always go back to the why, and I'll pass it to the comadre here.
It's funny because I've never heard of that, imposter syndrome. I don't even know what that is. So that tells you right there that I don't have it. But I will say something, to be honest. Sometimes I feel that when I'm doing things with the Hispanic women and things like that, sometimes I feel a little bit not 100% in with them because I'm very Americanized. My mom said it just the other day, something about dating. She's like, yeah, you're very Americanized. Don't date someone from another country. But the thing is that for me, I was born and raised in this country. My mom came from the Dominican Republic as an adult, but she made herself an American. She wanted to be a citizen. She wanted the American dream. So everything we did was American. We didn't do quinceañera. We didn't do that. We did sweet 16s. Food in the house, of course, Dominican food, yes. But we also had American food because my dad came when he was a kid. He lived in Spanish Harlem. He likes his pork chops. He likes his mashed potatoes and things like, so that's very American. So for me, the way I think sometimes it's American, but I don't let that hinder me because I know I'm Latina, right? I have that from my mom. I speak my language. I taught Spanish in schools. I have it in me, but yeah, I'm an American. I'm a Hispanic American.
So this is something I struggle with a lot, and I'm still working on it. I feel like we're just, folks who struggle with it, you work on it every day. Being in the cheese world and the wine world, everyone wants to flash their certifications, and I know this and I know that, and sometimes you'll get into rooms where people want to trip you up or throw lingo at you and see how you react. And just working in those spaces, I've realized that all of it's bullshit, honestly. Everyone's making it up all the time. And just lean into what you think and then just don't back down, especially when it comes to like what you're tasting. Like, this is food, it's subjective. There's no real rules here. I worked at the Urban Grape as an events coordinator for a couple months before I opened up our store. And I got to meet a bunch of really amazing wine professionals from all over the country. One of them really spoke very strongly about Eurocentric terms when describing wine and food, and how, with France, they literally had people who were in charge, in politics or whatever, that were in charge of certain works of life and styles of life and things, and they got to predetermine how we talked about the culinary world and things of that nature, and those are the terms that we use when describing things. But she came from an African American background, and she's worked with people all over the country from different backgrounds, and she's started to utilize her own vocabulary to describe things in the food and beverage world, and that really inspired me. So I teach a cheese tasting class in our store, and that's something I try to really impart on people to build confidence when you're in those spaces, and just to learn about food and wine and cheese in a different way. But it's hard. It really is hard. And I think if you ever feel like imposter syndrome when you're in a space, what I like to do is just take a deep breath and just speak from my own experiences, because no one can tell me that's not how I felt or how how it went down in my head. That's how it went down in my head.
I've had a similar experience where I've been in rooms with people that have done some really cool things that I'm kind of like, whoa, you did that, that's great. But one of the things that someone that was in that space with me told me, this is a very Gen Z term, but they're just girly pops. They are the same. They experience the same things. And if you just remember, take away the shine, right? People are still people at the end of the day. They have their doubts, they have their worries, they have their ups and downs, they're disorganized, whatever it may be. Remember that, and then kind of also use data to your advantage. You know what you've done. That's what I tell founders that I work with. Use the data. What have you done? You've proved it. So no one can take the data away from you, and that also applies to yourself. You're the one that's pushing yourself. You're the one that's going to events and networking and building. No one can ever take that away from you.
I've heard of the term, but it is iffy for me. I think life is a journey. I come from a very poor family in the Dominican Republic, from El Campo, raised in El Barrio. I'm not supposed to be here. And when I came to the United States, I had a time where the rebel in me came out. I wanted to be wild, da, 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 da. And there was a time when I felt like I wasn't myself, but I think it was just something in me that needed to come out, then I could balance myself. And I've been told that I'm not supposed to be in certain rooms. I'm here, deal with it. And when you're not feeling good in a place, I think it's your gut telling you that might not be the right place for you. If you need to be in those rooms, deep breath, drink some water, and just, what does that say? Look at people and think they're naked, and then you're not shy anymore. So you're not an imposter. It's just that you're in different place and times in personality. Your personality will change throughout life. So it's not that you're an imposter, it's that you have different facets of your life at different times.
I also think imposter syndrome is you don't think you belong. And the only way to get rid of that is to go love yourself. Love yourself. And people say that and they, go do your nails. No, I mean, like, go find the ugliest, most embarrassing, most shameful part of you. Choice you made. A choice you made that you were like, I'm doing this. And then you're like, damn, that's dirty. That one, and you have to say, I love you, I forgive you, you are amazing. Because once I love you, I can love all the other cute little pretty parts I present. But it's that hidden, ugly little, kind of mucusy, disgusting thing there that you're like, what can you? But that's you. You gotta love that mucus too. I think if you are able to love all of you, you walk into any space and you realize everybody's fighting the same fight to feel seen, heard, and be accepted. So just fight that fight for yourself, because mine doesn't look like yours. Yours doesn't look like his. So you got to walk with confidence knowing that you're doing your journey, and it might not feel right until it feels right, girl.
I understand what you're asking because as an Asian American in New England, in the North Shore of New England, back in the 1990s, there were very few Asians. My kids grew up with maybe like one or two, Asians, and I am in a space with like the chamber and in hospitality, and it's all white. Okay, it is, and you do feel that otherness, but it, like they say, it is a journey, and if you have the fortitude to be your own boss, then you gotta have that. You gotta muster up that, that intuition, that thing that centers you, that says, I'm here where I belong, and I'm gonna bloom where I am, because I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you all so much for your vulnerability tonight. I feel like that's really shown through. Your stories have been so inspiring, and I feel like we've all gotten to know you personally, which is such a gift, and I didn't know if that was going to happen, and you've just blown me away. So thank you for trusting us to create space for you and to hear about your stories and to be yourselves. It's been really so touching. I'm going to pass the mic to Mickey to close us out.
Thank you. Yeah, you can definitely clap. Let's give it up for them. I, too, was a marketer in my former life, so it'd be wrong if I didn't tell you who I am and what I do, right? So my name is Mickey Wilson. I have the proud privilege of being the board chair, first and foremost, of North Shore CDC. Thank you. I love the work that we do here. I am also a business owner. People call me the Dot Connector. Tonight I heard I was the Mickey Wilson. My parents would be happy to hear that. But my sole premise and the reason I asked the question is I am your go-to girl for meeting the right people, being in the right rooms, and especially at the right time. Thank you. And one of my proud, part of my legacy is I had the proud privilege and honor of transitioning our CEO, the first Black CEO, and the first Black woman CEO, and the first woman CEO of North Shore CDC. All right, I will stop. I just want you, if you have these pamphlets, yes, that's me on the back, by the way. But I would like you to open up the pamphlet because there's 2 QR codes in here. First and foremost, I would encourage you to scan the QR code so that you can receive updates about our small business development program, so you can subscribe to that. And then more importantly, I am the board chair, so my job is to always ask for money. I can get money for y'all too. But we need money so that we can tell more of these stories, so we can support small business, so we can support affordable housing. Our whole mission is to make this a thriving neighborhood in the communities that we exist in to thrive. So please take a minute to donate. Any amount is significant, and if you can't donate, I'm gonna ask you to be a connector and find somebody you know that would donate to this wonderful program. So that is our program for this evening. Thank you for letting me close you out. Ladies, I'm gonna ask you to stand here for a picture. And then please continue to eat whatever food's left, network, make connections.